Hello, welcome to this special broadcast. Our focus is on the steel sector. Yes, the Indian steel industry has been demanding a safeguard duty in order to protect it from overcapacity in China and cheap imports right now. We are also seeing a situation where there is stress in certain steel PSUs in the country, and the government is coming up with ways to support them as well. Joining us right now is Sandeep Poundrik, the Union Steel Secretary. Mr. Poundrik, I'd like to ask you about how you're preparing to help the domestic steel industry in light of global uncertainty. Donald Trump is going to assume the office of president. There is a threat of tariffs and a US-China trade war. There is overcapacity in China. The Indian steel industry will also face the impact. What are you doing? What steps are being taken to protect it?
So yes, you are right that the domestic steel industry is under pressure because of increasing imports, steel imports. If you see the data for this financial year, in the first 6 months of this financial year, the imports increased by roughly 40%, but then they sort of tapered down a bit, and for the first 9 months of this year, the imports have increased by roughly 20% as compared to the same period last year. So, the imports have increased as compared to the earlier years. Now, how to protect or how to make the domestic industry competitive? Number one, that it is important that the domestic industry retains the capacity to invest in further capacity expansion, because our demand is increasing at a very high rate of roughly 11%, 12% for this year. So, that means that by 2030, we will need about 260 to 70 million tons of steel, which translates to a capacity of 300 plus million tons of capacity, and that means that we need an investment of roughly $120 billion or 10 lakh Indian rupees. That is possible only if the Indian domestic industry is competitive and they have capacity to invest in infrastructure projects. So, having said that, your question was that how are we trying to ensure that the domestic industry is not adversely impacted. So, on that, the domestic industry has filed an application for safeguard duty, imposition of safeguard duty with the Director General of Trade Remedies. The DGTR has already issued a notice for getting responses from various stakeholders. The last date is 22nd of January, and then the DGTR will take, I think, 2 to 3 weeks to assess all the responses and make its recommendation. Based on that, government will take a decision.
So, what exactly is the exact recommendation from the Steel Ministry? When you say safeguard duty, what will be the quantum? Will it be an anti-dumping duty, or will it be a minimum import price that will be implemented?
So, to clarify, because there are certain doubts about this whole thing. So, one is the basic custom duty, which is imposed for all imports, which at present is 7.5%. But the basic custom duty is not applicable on imports from countries which have free trade agreements with India. And in our case, about 60% of imports are from FTA countries. So, BCD is for these imports, for imports from these countries is 0. So, BCD is only partially effective as far as a tariff barrier is concerned. The safeguard duty, on the other hand, is imposed if the DGTR finds and recommends that there is damage and injury to the domestic industry because of low prices at which the steel is being imported into the country. And safeguard duty is imposed on all imports, including the imports from FTA countries. So, if it is imposed, then that will be applicable to all imports, all steel imports. The anti-dumping duty is basically when there is an application by somebody, normally the industry, that there is an injury from cheap imports from a specific country on specific steel grades. As of now, no anti-dumping application has been filed in December. There were some old anti-dumping investigations going on, but nothing big recently. So, anti-dumping right now is not on the cards as far as I know. Again, that is the same for DGTR to assess and make a recommendation. There is a fourth kind of duty which is called countervailing duty, which is basically when there is proof that there are state subsidies being given to a industry, and because of which the imports are cheaper. So, that in that case, that duty is called a countervailing duty. So, presently in India, only safeguard duty is being considered or examined by the DGTR.
What will be the quantum of any duty imposed?
That the DGTR will have to decide, because that will depend on the injury or damages to the industry. So, that he will assess and recommend to the Commerce Ministry, and then in turn to the Finance Ministry, who will take a decision.
The Steel Minister and also you, Mr. Poundrik, as Steel Secretary, have been holding meetings with RINL, taking feedback on how to revive the company. Is there any proposal, any decision that has been taken?
So, basically as far as RINL is concerned, as you know that by August RINL was in bad shape, and they had closed almost the whole plant. They were only running one blast furnace at very minimum capacity, but after that government and ministry has been reviewing and trying to keep it as a going concern. So, after that RINL has sort of turned around. Their production has increased significantly last 4 months. They are running 2 blast furnaces at 100% capacity. They ran it for December, and they are having plans for starting the third blast furnace by June, July of 25. Now, their main problem as of now is their past liabilities, both to the bankers and to the other creditors. They are more or less self-sustainable on present basis, but they need help for meeting the past liabilities. So, government has decided that government will support RINL to keep it as a going concern. We will try that it should not be allowed to shut down, and in that direction we are making a proposal. We are examining a proposal to give support to RINL, so that they are able to meet their liabilities and keep the plant running. Of course, that will also include that they run the plant very efficiently, and they take cost cutting measures and all of that. So, all of that is under examination, and I think that very soon we will have government decision on that.
All right. Mr. Poundrik, by when can we expect a decision on this proposal to revive RINL, and are you saying that the government will come up with a financial package to support and pay off the liabilities of RINL?
So, RINL right now the bank liabilities are roughly 18,000 crores, and the other creditors liabilities are about 17,000 crores. So, roughly in total about 35,000 crores are the liabilities, but some of them RINL should be able to meet on its own if they start running the plant efficiently, so and generate a good EBITDA. So, it is not that the whole money needs to be given, but they need some kind of support.
There have been a lot of concerns in the Steel Ministry over the additional taxes imposed by the state government in Karnataka over iron ore mining. The Steel Minister has gone on to say that these additional taxes will adversely impact the domestic steel industry, and this is also emerging out of a Supreme Court judgment which said that royalty is not taxes, and a state government can come up with its own royalty. How are you looking to address this issue?
Yeah, that's correct. So, Karnataka has imposed I think 150% and 300% as a tax on mining on PSUs, PSU mining companies, and there is a different rate for private companies. So, in Karnataka, it will basically impact the National Mineral Development Corporation, NMDC in a big way, and that will reduce their profitability, and the taxation will become quite high. And the risk is that if the taxation becomes very high, which NMDC will, I think, pass it over to the consumers. So, then the domestic iron ore prices will consequently increase further. Now, Indian iron ore prices are anyway not low. So, if they increase further, then the steel makers' margins will be further squeezed, making the domestic steel again non-competitive as compared to imports. So, it has large implications, and we are writing to Mining Ministry, Government of India, to take measures to see that how this challenge can be addressed, because it is ultimately the Mining Ministry which will have to take action on this issue, because they are the administrative ministry. So, we are discussing with them and writing to them.
Hey, thank you for watching this on CNBC TV18. Hope you liked it. For more such interesting news and updates, follow CNBC TV18 on all the social media platforms.